The day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, folks, if you look at that gigantic, sharp, interactive board, you're going to see three smiling faces. Recently, I was in South Africa. My good friend Warren Mandy, the managing director of Altron, brought me to South Africa. And while I was there, we went over to Cape Town. Altron has an office in Cape Town. And in that office is an executive that heads up their production business. His name is Stuart Daniels. And Stuart Daniels has an amazing nonprofit that he started. And I want to share that story because even an old critic and cynic like me has a soft spot. And when I saw what Stuart and Roxanne were doing with the kids in Africa, it really pulled on my heartstrings. I want to share that story because I think it is an amazing story. So let's just start out today's episode. I want to ask Warren. Warren, first of all, I want to thank you for bringing me to South Africa. What an amazing experience. This was the second time I've been there. But I really enjoyed going to Cape Town. We were going to go look at some wineries, and we ended up watching a soccer game. Of course, over there they call it football. And I was sitting there watching these kids, and I told Warren, I said, I think this is the first time I actually saw kids playing soccer. Well, I don't have any kids, that's probably why. But Warren, it was really an amazing experience, and I wanted you to introduce Stuart and why Altron is a big backer of this important mission that Stuart's doing. And then we'll talk with Stuart and Roxanne.
Sure, Ray. Thank you, and good to see you again, Ray. I know you're in the studio. We're back here in Johannesburg and Cape Town, respectively. I'm glad to hear you had a good holiday with us and a good work experience with us. We tried to get that balance just right for you.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the core values in Altron is we talk about doing good while doing good business. And I rejoined this business 2 years ago, and as I was sort of working my way through our branch operations. There was this guy that everybody told me I should meet, and his name was Stuart, and he's running sort of the most successful production service team that we have in South Africa. He leads the sales effort, and they really are very different in our Cape Town office, really focused on clients, really focused on their communities. And Stuart had told me that during COVID, for his own children, he was starting a sort of like a kick-around soccer or football game, as we call it. And as he was doing this and really building a little bit of community partnership and just a bit of cohesion because all the kids had been stuck as part of the lockdowns, he noticed that there were a number of underprivileged children that really were keen to come and join his sort of soccer, let's call it an informal game that started. And it sort of snowballed into the fact that Stuart sort of coordinated and organized these games, and then before he knew it, he was coaching teams. There was it just mushroomed. And I know Stuart will take you through the details, but when he came to me, one of the things that really struck home with me was that this is a high performance academy with amazing kids who've got amazing soccer talent, but also, he's looking to actually help them in terms of life skills development, in terms of, schooling ability, supplementing their education. And one of the things that really struck me was that, the team didn't have, let's call it like top end equipment and kit, and they would run on and they would win these games, but they'd often be playing against more affluent teams. And one of the things he said is the kids need to feel professional, they need to look professional, and it just helps them with that professionalism. And he said, could we look at doing some sponsorship? So we put some sponsorship together. We bought some kit, tracksuits, clothing. We branded it with our brand, which is Xerox in South Africa. And it's been a 2-year partnership, and I get periodic updates from Stuart, seeing the success of the team. I get videos. I mean, he showed me when they did the kit handout. There was such joy and happiness on the faces of these kids. And Ray, I'm a bit embarrassed. The first time I actually got down to Cape Town to see them play was with you, and we were in that area. I knew they were playing, and Stuart organized it for us. So it was just an awesome day for me. And that's enough from my side. I'm going to hand back to you. I'm sure Stuart and Roxanne will tell you more. But we're just super proud to be, associated with this initiative, and whatever small part we can play in the lives of those kids, we want to play that. So yeah, well, Stuart, well done, and thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Stuart, as I was traveling around, and we're obviously driving through Cape Town, we're driving through Johannesburg and spots, and you could really see that some of these areas are definitely underprivileged. I mean, we think we have poor areas here in the United States, but when you really see, really how underprivileged some of these kids are, and I was thinking that probably when they come to your academy, which is called Nexus, that has got to be just such a breath of fresh air for them. It's got to be a great experience. And one thing I know that me and Warren, we actually talked about it, was it didn't matter what age these kids were when we were at that, because I think you had different age groups there. I know you did. But
Yeah.
these little kids would come up to you and they would stick their hand out and they would shake your hand, look you straight in the eye, and it was all part of this discipline, and it was just totally amazing. So, Stuart, I got to turn it over to you and just tell us, tell us a little bit about Nexus and what you and Roxanne, what your goal is, and how you're progressing in that goal.
Thanks, Ray. We've got this philosophy that we live by is, first develop the human and then develop the sportsman, and in our case, the football player. And just to echo on from what Warren said, from where we started, um, I once had a conversation with Roxanne on the side of the soccer field because her kid was part of our skill school program. And I said to her, one of the biggest problems we have in South African football is that the kids lack education. Um, and without education, they can't excel within the sport and within the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And when I talk about education, I'm not just talking about schooling, I'm talking about life skills, I'm talking about nutrition, I'm talking about understanding challenges in life and how to break through barriers. And Roxanne said, well, it's funny. I actually had a few years ago, I designed a program that incorporates football and education. And currently I have a school, but I don't have the football. And I'm like, what? I've got the football. You've got the school. Let's get
Awesome.
together. And the rest is history. And I mean, I've seen kids come into our program, for example, grade six, and we don't know how they got to grade six, because their education is so far backwards. And a year later, these kids hitting results of 60% and upwards. And the spin-off from that is you see a massive improvement in the schoolwork. And one of the plus points is that the kids love football so much, so you can use that as a means to motivate them to focus more on their schoolwork. And yeah, we have in certain situations where we have to remove the football from the kit because the schoolwork is lacking.
Mm-hmm.
Our goal is, once that kid finishes his last year of school, is that he'll have options, and his options would be to either play pro football or to study further or to do both, because both is available as well. So yeah, it's exciting. There's a lot happening from in terms of the success of the team so far. This weekend we're playing in the Fatifa International Cup, which is we're going in as defending champions. When we went in last year, we won it. We used Kit under the name of Ubuntu, but we were Nexus because we didn't even have Kit at the time, our own Kit. And yeah, thanks to Ultron and Xerox this year, we're going in looking really, really slick. And I can't wait to share those pictures with you guys. And the kids are pumped up, they're excited. Everybody's been training hard for the event, and yeah, we're really looking forward to it. I'd like to also just ask Roxanne to quickly just touch on, because on the education side, because Roxanne has obviously refined the program to suit kids more on individual basis as opposed to having a blanket approach to the education program. So Roxanne, if you could just quickly touch on it. And
Sure. So in 2017, I opened or founded Hidden Halos, which is the schooling program that we run.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually came as a result of my husband and I fostering two kids from the system and then trying to find a schooling program that would suit the barriers that they had. And I couldn't find one. So I created one. And through that, it gave me the opportunity to really learn what is the core essence of our education system, and how can I adapt it and mend it in such a way that it really becomes learner-centered or learner-focused. And by doing that, I can incorporate a whole lot of other methods, areas of interest, etc., which makes the program more exciting. and ultimately gets the learners excited about education, and not so much focused on their barriers, but rather where they can succeed. And so, yeah, that's pretty much what we've done with the football aspect as well.
So you had the school a couple of years before you got with Stewart. Reminds me of the the Reese's cup when the chocolate and the peanut butter kind of got together. So you guys come together, you make something great. But did the school change once we brought the soccer or the football into it? Because it seems like that would be a catalyst to get these kids kind of excited. And did it change who maybe went to the school?
Not necessarily who went to the school, but definitely the types of programs that we offered. So also the different types of learners that were coming there previously didn't perhaps have the same kind of barriers that the kids now have. So we had to do a lot of kind of adapting around their vulnerabilities. So, where before it wasn't a focus of ours to have a feeding program during school, where now it is. It's vital, it's critical that that we have food coming through the school, because some of the kids don't have that from home. So in that aspect, that's the kind of changes that happened. But the buzz in the school, I mean, this week we've been incorporating the Fatifa Cup and the what's going to happen on the weekend almost in every single subject. So by that nature, yeah, there's been change.
Yeah,
Well,
it's quite cool what they're doing, Ray, when they start using football situations and techniques to teach the kids maths, for example, or geography, and vice versa. So even Roxanne and her teachers work very, very closely with the coaches and constant communication, when there's discipline issues and so forth. So they understand, because we see it a lot in South Africa, where kids chase a football dream and they don't make it, for example, and then they've got nothing because they put their whole life into football. And we do know the percentage of those who make it pro is very, very, very small. So we got to make sure that we have that when that kid matriculates, that he's got options, and not stopping him from chasing a football dream, but making sure that he understands and that he has options in life. We normally say, a kid coming out of a township, he's got 1% chance of making it at professional, at something in life, whether it's football or business or whatever. Imagine having 1% chance with no resources. What are your chances then? It takes it to zero. And our goal, our aim is to be the resource for that kid, to assist him with that 1% chance that he has.
Well, you guys are young in this. We're going to start seeing some results of these, fantastic kids, and maybe there's going to be an opportunity for some of them to intern even at Altron. So it's just an amazing story. But really quick, when I looked at the kids and kind of got my head around what you're doing at Nexus, this is all funded through donations. It's not like these kids pay fees to come to the school and participate in Nexus. Is that correct?
Yeah, we do have majority of the kids are obviously on a sponsored program. We do have cases where there are parents that can afford and will then pay, but it's obviously structured according to what they can afford as well. Obviously the goal is to reach out and bring in more kids that don't have these opportunities. Sadly, a majority of the kids that are coming through our program are from the underprivileged communities, so which makes the funding obviously quite a bit challenging.
Well, I know that we were talking, you were sharing some stories of, even transporting these kids. It's not like, in America they have the term that, the soccer mom who's got the minivan and goes and brings the neighborhood kids to the sports event or what. There's no vehicles. And so, one of your needs was this van. Warren, show us this van because, maybe my friends here can help our friends in South Africa, try to figure out how to get this van. Warren, can you show us this van? Because I think this would be game changing for all those kids in the academy. There it is. And I will tell you this, folks, in South Africa, the dollar really goes a long way. So I don't know what the thing. This is probably like a $40,000, $45,000 US dollars in South Africa. Where here it might be 60. So come on back down here. I think they saw the van. So if you guys can help these people out, it'd be awesome. And Warren, where are you at?
I'm here.
There you go. There you go. So, folks, at the end of the day, we all have our causes. We all have our visions and our missions. And a lot of times we get so focused on what we do for work that we forget what we can do for others. And it was just an amazing story for me to see this while I was in South Africa. And we got, there's good people all over our industry here in the United States. We're always doing, golf tournaments for different causes, and we do a lot for our veterans and things. But, at the end of the day, we are a global world. And it was just an amazing experience for me to be able to go to South Africa for the second time. I look forward to coming back there. I learn something every time I come. It's an amazing story, Stuart, Roxanne, of what you built, coming together with two missions to help the youth in South Africa. It's just phenomenal. And I will link their website, so go check out their website. You could even sponsor a youth, to go through this program. But anything we can do to help, we should help. And and I hope that that this mission only gains in momentum. There's a definite need there in South Africa. Cape Town. You go through Cape Town. I mean, me and Warren went to a winery, and there was nothing underprivileged about that winery. And then on the way to the winery, you see what is definitely underprivileged. So it's a very, very diverse society, to say the least. And I think what you're doing is fantastic. Is there anything you guys want to end, Warren? Any last words?
I'd just like to say, Ray, thank you so much. On behalf of all of us for coming out and really taking this cause to heart. I mean, I think when you see it and you're with the kids, there's nothing like it. And I guess I want to do two things. All of your viewers, and I know you've got a wide reach, we'd love you all to come and visit Cape Town. I mean, come and experience how South Africa is. And if you do come out this way, please reach out to me and or Stuart. And if you want to come and watch a game of football on a Saturday morning, we'd love to host you there. Or if you just want to pop in, have a cappuccino or a coffee with us, we'd love to meet you, because we want to build on this community, Ray, that you are really bringing together. It's a lot of like-minded people, all in our industry, all figuring out where we want to go in the industry. So making that connectivity on a global scale, I think, is amazing. But just wearing my South African hat for a little bit, we want to get as many tourists in here as possible and give you an amazing experience. And come to the Cape and meet Stuart and Roxanne and see what they're doing.
It is an amazing experience. Stuart, you got anything to add?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Warren, thanks today. And again, I didn't get to thank you at the beginning of the video for your visit in Cape Town. I think, just to the viewers out there, I think it's important to know what's happening on on ground level in communities like Cape Town. And like you mentioned, Ray, there's such a big difference between the privileged and the not so privileged. And nobody's going to change the world for us. Can we change the world? Of course we can. We change one person, that person's part of the world. We have changed the world. So, reach out to us, Nexus Football Academy. You can get hold of us via social media, via our website. If you want to visit and just get to know what we're doing, then please reach out to us. We will gladly communicate with you and share more information. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Roxanne?
I think Stuart said everything.
Okay.
Can I leave one parting thought here, guys? I think next step is the Female Football Academy. So we want Nexus Ladies Football.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
That'll cause some competition.
So it's already running in the back of our minds. It's already there.
It's coming.
We're there. We'll sign up for that. We'll sponsor it. We're in.
Well, I'll tell you
Thank
this.
you.
No matter where you're at in the world, and you all know this, status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck there, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.